I'm Rose Odette. I spent 14 years inside IBM learning how the biggest companies on earth actually run. Then I left and I built one from nothing into a $100 million healthcare technology company deployed across 200 hospitals in the United States and the NHS Trusts across the UK. Nobody handed me a system for that. I had to build one while I was running the company. That system has a name now. It's called Bullish on Business. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what it is and why the way you're running your business right now is measuring possibly the wrong things. The real problem is outputs versus a decision layer. Most business owners run their week and their whole company around outputs. Hey, what shipped? What missed? What's behind? What's ahead? That's fine for tracking. It is almost useless for changing anything. Here's why. If you only ever look at outputs, you're looking at symptoms. You're not looking at mechanisms that produce them. At the growth stage, and I mean anywhere from 500,000 to 20 million, your execution system is still being built while it's running. Decisions that should sit with your team still land on your desk. Priorities that should be locked get renegotiated midweek, every single week. A result-only retro doesn't see any of that. It's watching the output layer. That's already 2 steps downstream, really, from where the real problem lives. Do you get where I'm coming from? Are you with me so far? The layer that actually matters is one level deeper. It's the decision layer, which calls got postponed, which handoffs lost clarity, which decisions kept bouncing back to you, the founder or the executive. That should have never needed you at all. That's not a framework I read about. That's the exact failure pattern I watched in my own company and in every founder I've talked to since. So let's talk about why you should listen to me. I didn't start as a founder. I started as an engineer, packaging engineering, Michigan State, a discipline that trains you to see every process as a chain of interdependent parts work together. One weak link, and you know where I'm going, and the whole chain collapses. That instinct followed me into IBM, where I spent those 14 years learning how the most complex organizations actually function, from the inside. 5 IBM Systems Engineering Symposiums, awards, a patent, a masterclass in what it looks like when a business runs with genuine intelligence behind it. Then healthcare hit, an inflection point. Electronic medical records were about to change everything. And almost everyone in the industry believed deploying enterprise-level EMR software across an entire hospital system was, practically speaking, impossible. Competing technologies, resistant institutions, regulatory pressure, clinical workflows you cannot afford to disrupt, and the one thing that made every decision heavier than a normal business decision, failures in healthcare software don't just hurt a balance sheet, they affect patient lives. I left IBM to build that company that would actually prove those skeptics wrong. What followed was one of the most demanding entrepreneurial stretches imaginable. We weren't just selling software. We were running enterprise sales cycles clinical compliance, international expansion, financial management, organizational scaling, all at once. No playbook. Every problem was brand new. Every solution had to work at scale immediately with real patients on the other end of it. The software ended up in more than 200 hospitals across the United States and multiple national health system trusts in the United Kingdom. Millions of patients touched by systems we built. And the business crossed that $100 million mark, not from one lucky launch, but from years of disciplined execution across every function of the company, running simultaneously. So, the epiphany. Somewhere in that decade plus of building, leading, scaling, I had the epiphany that reshaped the rest of my career. I looked around at the founders near me, brilliant people working 60-hour weeks, watching revenue stay flat anyway. They'd read the books, they hired the coaches, and they still couldn't break through. You know, the root cause was almost never strategy. It was infrastructure. Most businesses don't fail because their leaders lack vision. They fail because they lack integrated executive operating system. The kind of decision intelligence, operational accountability, and business-wide visibility that large corporations take for granted, and that small to mid-market companies have historically never had access to. I've spent 14 years learning how IBM-level organizations run. Then I spent years actually running one at the $100 million mark, solving every category of business problem in real time. That system needed to exist for founders who weren't going to spend 14 years at IBM to earn it. The mechanism. What Bullish on Business actually is a system for the executive, really a system for you. It's not another course. It's not another dashboard bolted on a stack that's already too big and complex and costly. It's a complete integrated executive operating system built to run a $200K to $20 million company at the level of a Fortune 500 C-suite, and an AI executive advisor suite, a command center for virtual COO, CFO, CMO, or chief of staff trained for your business data, not generic prompts. C-suite decision support at 2 a.m. on a Sunday without a $20,000 a month retainer. An executive intelligence dashboard, revenue, pipeline, operations, accountability, one real-time view. So you walk into Monday already knowing where business stands. The Bullish on Business strategic planning framework, vision, architecture has 90-day sprints and a weekly leadership cadence. So your team owns outcomes without you translating strategy into daily operations. There are 8 core operating modules, every layer of a scalable business in sequence. So you are never guessing what to fix first. KPI scorecards and accountability systems. The decision engine that catches problems before they cost you money. And an AI productivity playbook, 30 plus vetted workflows mapped to real executive functions, giving founders back 8 to 12 hours a week. Wouldn't you love that? Every piece of this is built around a decision layer, not the output layer. It doesn't ask what your team delivered. It asks which decisions are you stuck on and your desk, and it shouldn't be there anymore. Once you see your week through that lens, a checklist style retro starts to feel like it's measuring the wrong thing entirely. That's not a coincidence. That's the premise the entire system was built on. So what proof should we have? Where's my credibility? Well, I've hosted more than 100 business leaders on the Bullish on Business podcast. I've written multiple business books. I built AI-powered executive education used by founders who were done duct taping strategy to a pile of disconnected tools. But the credibility isn't the podcast or the books. It's this, the strategic planning, financial visibility, and AI decision frameworks inside the SaaS, Bullish on Business Executive Information System, where it's been stress tested inside one of the most regulated, highest stakes industries that exist, healthcare, before they were ever packaged for entrepreneurs. If it worked across 200 hospitals, it works in your business. So here you go. What's my offer to you? Here's what's inside Bullish on Business: a full AI executive advisor suite, the executive intelligence dashboard, the strategic planning framework, all 8 core operating modules, the KPI scoreboard and accountability system, the AI productivity playbook, and access to the founder community, and live strategy sessions with me once every other week. A single implementer engagement from a framework like EOS runs $15,000 to $50,000 a year. And the most common outcome is a document nobody opens after the first quarter. A fractional COO retainer starts at $60,000 annually. Bullish on Business is a fraction of either, and it doesn't disappear when the coach changes clients. The real question isn't whether this is an investment, it's what 1 quarter of better decisions, 1 avoided bad hire, 1 caught revenue link is worth to your business. Now, I'm sure you got some doubts. I know what you're thinking. You might be thinking, I already have a ChatGPT and a bunch of automation tools. You can buy lumber, concrete, and wiring. That doesn't mean you should design your own building. Bullish on Business is an integrated system: strategy, finance, operations, accountability, and AI advisors, all connected and calibrated to work together with your existing stack. The architecture is the product. I am not sure this applies to my industry, you might be thinking. My $100 million company operated inside healthcare, one of the most regulated, highest stakes industries there is. If the framework survived that, it's built to survive yours. My team won't use another tool, you might be thinking. Tools die when there's no consequences for ignoring them. Bullish on Business is built around accountability architecture, visible ownership, scorecards, AI-driven check-ins. Your team engages because you're using it to make real decisions that affect them. So, what is the easy next step? You don't need 14 years at IBM. You don't need a decade building a $100 million company. You need the system that came out of all that. I built Bullish on Business so you don't have to learn this that way, the hard way, with no map. The map exists now. Stop measuring outputs. Start seeing decisions actually running your business. Click below. Let's build the system that runs your company, whether you're in the room or on the beach.